does it ever feel to you like, boy, there seem to be a heck of a lot of people that look like they have a lot more money than I do? What the heck is going on? If so, today's video is for you. I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years, and today I'm going to share with you the top 5 reasons that might be the case. But I'm going to lead off with a teaser for the end, and the teaser for the end is it's really not the case that they have more money than you most of the time. I'll share more about that later, but let's start with the reasons that they might have more money than you. And the first one is they might have a side hustle job. They might have an extra source of revenue that you're not familiar with. And people think, folks having a second job, a side hustle job is rare. But according to Bankrate, 40% of Americans have a side hustle job. And this is startling. Guess what the average person is making with that side hustle job? $800 a month. So it may be that they do have more money for you than you. So let's go for a walk and we'll talk about some of these other ones. If you're new to my channel, my name's Azul. As I said, I've been a financial advisor, and I primarily talk about preparing for and having a successful retirement. But part of that is saving, part of that is understanding where you're at. So I think videos like this are good for me to do occasionally as well. Hopefully you find it helpful too. Okay, the second reason that people might appear to have more money than you is, it's just appearances, right? A lot of people, 1/3 of all Americans, keep a balance on their credit card. So it might look like they have more money than you, but the reality is they're just spending more money than you, and they're spending more money than they have. Most credit cards are 20 to 30% interest rate. And as I said, a large percentage, 1/3 of all Americans keep a balance on their credit card. I think that's insane. And it's not just small amounts. If you look at the average Gen Xer, which are people right now, as I record this, 42 to 57, the average Gen Xer that has a balance on their account has $8,000 on their credit card at 20% or more a year. The average baby boomer, which is 58 to 76-year-old, has just a little bit less at $7,000. And even the silent generation, this one's going to surprise you, even the silent generation, which is people 77 to 94, guess how much money the folks that have balances on their credit card, guess how much they're holding on their credit cards? It's $5.5 thousand. That's a lot of money for a senior citizen that's trying to control their budget and their expenses. So, the number 2 reason is they may not have as much money as it looks because they're using their credit cards. Another major source of debt, and it's the second or third largest expense for Americans, which is our automobile expense. The average car loan is over $700 a month. I think it's like $725 a month. And almost 20%, it's 17.5% of car loans, new car loans, are for $1,000 a month or more. That's a ton of money. So they may be driving that fancy new car, but you know what? They're paying for it. They're paying a steep price for that. So that's another reason. Okay, the fourth reason, I think this one's really important, is, with social media, we see what people are, not only are choosing to show us, but most people are taking pictures of the things that they enjoy doing. So we're seeing a slice of life. So for instance, myself, I like to travel. So my friends might see me in front of the Eiffel Tower, and then in front of the Colosseum in Rome, and then down at Machu Picchu in Peru. And they might be thinking, wow, Azul's spending some bank. But that's my thing, is travel. And I'm also a budget traveler. So when I travel, everything fits into one backpack. So when I go to the airlines, I can fly a budget airline, and I don't have to pay the crazy fees for the checked bag or the overhead bin storage. So you're seeing slices of people's lives. In my case, they're seeing travel. In somebody else's case, maybe their thing is cars. And if that's your thing, that's fine. For somebody else, their thing might be clothes. So we're seeing that slice of life, and it's easy to expand that and say, well, if they're spending this kind of money on travel, they must be spending that kind of money on their car. They must be spending that kind of money on their clothes. And as you can see by today's video, no, I'm not spending that kind of money on my clothes. My wardrobe is very simple. Okay, let's keep going. The next one, this is a big one as well, is student loans. And again, most of my audience is 40 years old and older, and you might be saying, hey, Azul, how many 50-year-olds, how many 60-year-olds still have student loans? You know what? You'd be surprised, and I'm about to share with you what the numbers are. It's a lot more than what you think. It's actually, student loans for most people last longer than their mortgage. I mean, to me, that's crazy. It's the longest lasting debt in the United States. So of the student loan balances outstanding, 23% of all student loans outstanding are to people under 30. 30 to 40, it's 32%, just about a third. 40 to 49, it's 22%, and 50 to 60-year-olds represent 15% of all outstanding student loans. And believe it or not, people 60 and older, it's 8%. Now you might think, okay, Azul, these 60-year-olds, maybe they went to the community college and they took a cooking course or a second language course, and they took out a loan just because it was basically interest-free money. It was free for them to have it. So that's why they have a student loan. So yeah, they have a student loan, but maybe it's only a couple $100. That's what I would think too. But you know what? You and I would be wrong if that's not the case. The balances on this. So for 30-year-olds, for the average 30-year-old, it's $24,000 is what they owe, which is about what I'd expect. It's actually a little bit lower than what I thought it would be. 30 to 40 is almost $45,000. It's $43,000. That's a little bit higher than what I thought it would be. And I'm curious what happens between 30 and 40. The only thing I could think is maybe people are going back to graduate school. But 30 to 40-year-olds owe more than people under 30. It's probably because it's an average, so there's some 17 and 18-year-olds that have student loans that are just starting off. Let's keep going, because I'm going to share with you what the senior citizens owe, and you're going to be shocked. It's not insignificant. 40 to 49, it stays at about $45,000 is the outstanding balance, but 50 to 60 is still $45,000. So the 50 to 60-year-olds that owe student loans, the average is $45,000. So, hey, why does it look like people have more money than you? Well, part of it is you may have paid off your student loans and they didn't. And 60-year-olds, guess 60 and older, guess what the average 60-year-old that still has outstanding student loans is still has outstanding? $36,000. That's a lot of money. Okay, and speaking of college, speaking of student loans, another reason it might be that you look and say, wow, it looks like other people have more money than I do. Another one of those reasons might be, their parents might have helped them at a different level to pay for college than maybe your situation. And the cost of college, as we all know, is out of hand. It's a huge expense. And as I just said, it's the longest lasting debt in our life. So if you were fortunate and your parents helped pay for your college, or even better, paid for all of it, you have a lot more money to buy clothes. You have a lot more money to buy a new car. You have a lot more money to go on trips. So that can be a big factor. Another factor is just luck. People don't like to hear it, but it's true. Luck plays a huge factor in our success in life. How strong was the job market when you graduated? For the kids that graduated during the pandemic, when companies were cutting back on hiring, and maybe they weren't able to get mentored the same way that you and I were mentored in our careers early on, that can have a big impact, and it has nothing to do with the person. It's just the reality of the situation. So, when did they enter the job market? How strong was the job market? What kind of mentoring were they able to get? And I just mentioned that because of the pandemic. That changed everything for young people. Okay, and I said at the beginning, it seems like people have a lot more money, and I told you as a financial advisor I was going to go through these top reasons, and I said, the truth is they're not. I'm going to stop chuckling because this isn't funny anymore. But I do want to share what the average household, not individual, household net worth is in the United States. But before I go there, I just want to talk about retirement savings, which would be part of net worth. But if you look at retirement savings, over 50% of all Americans have $0 saved for retirement. 9% have less than $10,000, and 13% have $10,000 to $50,000, and 7.5% have $50,000 to $100,000. So if you look at that, 80% of all Americans have less than $100,000 saved for retirement. So they might be spending the money that their future self is going to say, hey, quit spending that. So they might be spending some of the dollars that they should be keeping for their future self. So that's one reason. And so that's the retirement numbers. But now let's look at the entire net worth. And in today's world, I think, this is not financial advice, but I think the minimum for somebody to be thinking about retirement is about $500,000. And that's going to be a tight retirement. This isn't financial advice for you. I want you to work with your own financial advisor, preferably somebody that's a fiduciary to you 100% of the time. But it's working with a financial advisor would be able to, they would know your situation, be able to tell you, hey, you know, whatever the amount is that you have, is it sufficient? But from my standpoint, you know, less than $500,000 is going to be a very tight retirement for most people. So with that said, let's look at these net worth numbers. These are total net worth. This includes the value of your house. As a reminder, net worth is the value of everything that you own, like your house, like your car, minus the value of everything that you owe, the debt. So it would be minus the mortgage on your house, minus your car loan. So if your house was worth $500,000 and you had $300,000 left on your mortgage and that was your only asset, then you'd have a net worth of $200,000. And if you had $50,000 in the bank, you would add that to it. But these numbers I'm about to share with you are shockingly low, and they're for a household. So, you know, on average, I believe the average house has 1.7 adults in it. So average net worth for people less than 35 years old is just under $40,000. For people 35 to 44, it's $135,000. 45 to 54, it's $250,000. 55 to 64 is $365,000. And that's getting to the retirement age. So just as people are entering the retirement zone, the 55 to 64, they've got $365,000 in net worth. But, you know, are they going to sell their house to get access to that capital? You know, most of us are not going to do that. So, but this is what the numbers are. And then 65 to 74, the numbers actually go up. It goes to $410,000, which as a financial advisor is what I see. Typically for the first couple years in retirement, as long as the stock market's doing well and people aren't spending crazy amounts of money, for a lot of people, their balance actually goes up the first years in retirement. So again, $410,000 for 65 to 74, and then 75 plus is $335,000. So if you enjoyed this video, kind of related to this topic, is, you know, we're talking about why it looks like people have more money than you do. So I think you might enjoy watching this video where I talk about what's the average income for a retiree in the United States. I think you'll find that useful as well. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in this one up here. Bye-bye.